Happy August 8th, or last Sunday before school starts, the last Sunday of summer. And this is our last Sunday school video done online. And so by next week, August 15th, we will be resuming in person and kicking off our Red Letter Challenge. So as we close out our series on ordinary sinners, this week we take a look at Peter, one of Jesus' followers and close disciples and friends. And we see that even Peter was an ordinary sinner. To kind of get the backstory before we get into the passage that we're looking at today, we have to understand Peter a little bit. And so we can take a look at John chapter 18, or I like the Matthew gospel account. And so I'm going to take a look at Matthew chapter 26, 34 and 35, and then jump forward a little bit. This is where Jesus is having the Last Supper with his disciples. And it says, Jesus replied, "I tell you the truth, Peter, this very night before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times that you even knew me." "No," Peter insisted, "even if I have to die with you, I will never deny you." And all the other disciples vowed the same. Jump forward to verse 69. It says, "Meanwhile, Peter was sitting outside in the courtyard. A servant girl came over and said to him, 'You were one of those with Jesus the Galilean.' But Peter denied in front of everyone. 'I don't know what you're talking about,' he said. Later, out by the gate, another servant girl noticed him and said to those standing around, 'This man was with Jesus of Nazareth.' Again, Peter denied it, this time with an oath. 'I don't even know the man,' he said. A little later, some of the other bystanders came over to Peter and said, 'You must be one of them. We can tell by your Galilean accent.' Peter swore, 'Curse on me if I'm lying. I don't know the man.' And immediately the rooster crowed. Suddenly, Jesus' words flashed through Peter's mind. 'Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times that you even know me.' And he went away weeping, crying bitterly." Ugh. Peter had the best of intentions. He was such a close follower of Jesus, did a lot of good things, and yet even he made mistakes. Even he was a sinner. He went so far as to, even when he was sure he wouldn't, he went as far as to deny that he knew Jesus. We might think that would be the end of the story for Peter, but as we know, a lot of the New Testament talks about what a great follower and missionary and preacher that he was. And so when we get into John chapter 21 today, we kind of see a little bit of the end of Peter's story and how Jesus was with Peter, the ordinary sinner, and what that means for us as ordinary sinners too. So we're going to look at John chapter 21. And we're gonna jump in here and see at verse 3. Simon Peter said, "I'm going fishing." "Well, come too," the disciples replied. So they went out in the boat, but caught nothing all night. At dawn, Jesus was standing on the beach and called to the disciples, though they could not see who he was. He called out, "Fellows, have you caught any fish?" "No," they replied. And he said, "Throw out your nets on the right-hand side of the boat and you'll get some." So they did. They couldn't haul in the net because there were so many fish in it. Then the disciple Jesus loved said to Peter, "It's the Lord." When Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he put on his tunic, for he had taken it off for work, jumped in the water, and headed to shore. The others stayed with the boat and pulled the loaded net to the shore, for they were only about 100 yards from shore. When they got there, they found breakfast waiting for them, fish cooking over a charcoal fire and some bread. "Bring some of the fish you've caught," Jesus said. So Simon Peter went aboard and dragged the net to the shore. There were 153 large fish, and yet the net hadn't torn. "Now come have some breakfast," Jesus said. None of the disciples dared to ask him, "Who are you?" They knew it was the Lord. Then Jesus served them the bread and the fish. This was the 3rd time Jesus had appeared to his disciples since he had been raised from the dead. After breakfast, Jesus asked Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" "Yes, Lord," Peter replied. "You know I love you." "Then feed my lambs," Jesus told him. Jesus repeated the question, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" "Yes, Lord," Peter said. "You know I love you." "Then take care of my sheep," Jesus said. A third time he asked him, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter was hurt that Jesus asked the question a third time. He said, "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." Jesus said, "Feed my sheep." And then he goes on to tell Peter a few more details about what he can expect for following Jesus with his life, what his kind of ministry he's going to have, maybe some of the hardships he's going to face, and ultimately that he will be so strong in his faith that he will end up dying for his faith, loudly proclaiming that Jesus is who he said he was. We see in this passage that Jesus met people's needs. He showed the disciples how much he loved and cared for them by providing for them for their livelihood, making sure they had fish, which they would have needed to survive. He prepared and made breakfast with them. And then Jesus gently gives Peter another chance. Peter denied Jesus 3 times. And so Jesus gently restores Peter 3 times, reminding him of his love and forgiveness. We see that Peter was an ordinary sinner, but we see that there is no sin too big for Jesus. Jesus, when we have faith in him, his love and forgiveness is big enough to cover over all kinds of sins. Even what we might think the worst of worst sins is, denying Jesus in his hour of need. Jesus shows that he is more powerful than that. He is able to restore and bring love and forgiveness and care for Peter. And then to continue to use Peter. That wasn't the end of Peter's story, that he was able to continue to be used, continue to live a life of faith, continue to serve Jesus and his followers, feeding sheep, being a missionary, and ultimately proclaiming his faith so boldly that would be how he and his time on earth ended, that he would be dying for his faith. And so we see that Peter, as an ordinary sinner, we might relate to. Sometimes we're a little zealous, we're a little impetuous. We think we're going to do one thing, we end up doing the wrong thing. Even we know we don't want to do that, we end up doing the wrong thing. And we see that Jesus gently loves and restores us and gives us forgiveness. It doesn't exclude us and say, you have no part of mission or ministry, no part with me. Instead, he says, I love you, I restore you, I came for you, I've got a job for you to do. Now let's go and share the good news of me, of love and forgiveness with those around us. So we can take comfort in that. I would encourage you to take a look at these passages today. Our teens are going to look a little bit more at part of Peter's story in 1 Peter and what he wrote about how to live as a follower in a world where there's a lot of difficulty following Jesus and being part of the world but not of it. And so we're going to take a look at that and looking at those John passages of Peter's story and some fun activities to try. Next Sunday, August 15th, we're going to invite you to join us online at 8:30 or later for worship as we kick off the Red Letter Challenge. We would also love it if you would join us in person at 8:30, 9:45, or 11:15. So our service times go back to normal next week. And during our Sunday school and Bible class hour at 9:45, we've got our kids of multiple ages, preschool through elementary, meeting in our Christian Life Center building, kind of working on the Red Letter Challenge. Our teens, 6th grade plus, will be over in our ministry center and our youth room, as well as our adults meeting at 9:45 in the different ministry center classrooms. There are also some other opportunities, if Sunday's not the best day, to join a Red Letter Challenge group online or Zoom, or in person at various locations, people's homes, church, online at various days and times during the week. Again, for kids, teens, and adults. And so we'd encourage you to check out and plug into a small group, either starting the 15th or sometime that week after, to join us for worship. And if you haven't got a chance to get a Red Letter book, we've got a kids version and a teen/adult version. Feel free to stop by our office and grab one. Feel free to contact us and we can mail one, drop one off, or get one into your hands. And so that we'll start reading through that on the 15th and forward. So lots of ways to get involved individually, personally, through worship, and then through a group of digging deeper and having some fellowship and community in whatever way. So we encourage you to be involved in that and to join us on the 15th in the afternoon for our Rally Day picnic and Red Letter Challenge celebration. And so we hope that you can plan to join us then, and for the launches of all the programs that are going to start later on that week, confirmation, youth, Sunday school, all that stuff kicking off on the 15th. So look forward to seeing you. Have a great week. Have a great start of school, and we will look forward to seeing you in person next week. Bye, friends.